Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a new season. Welcome to the REMUS Esports GT3 Championship here on RaceRoom. My name is Connery Maddock, and I'll be your commentator for the English broadcast this evening. I am very thankful that you're able to join me for this one of what looks to be a pretty exciting new championship, new season here in this one. And well, it's a little bit different compared to what you may have experienced with championships prior, not just on RaceRoom but elsewhere in sim racing as well. Because not only is this a championship where the drivers go head to head, try and score as much points as possible, you're very familiar with that format, but also you get yourself the teams being these influencer drivers as well, teams representing these influencer drivers. We have, of course, Shmee150 versus Malmedie. Their championship is running in tandem with the drivers' championship that you'll be seeing here today. So the drivers are not only scoring points for themselves, but they're scoring points for their sim racer, their streamer, their influencer driver, no matter what you want to call it. There's multiple championships going on at the very same time here in the REMUS GT3 Championship for 2021. And well, without further ado, let's take a look at who's actually going to be competing here today, here in this one. You've got, of course, the divvied out between the two teams here. You have Team Shmee150, consisting of Christopher Högfeldt, Alessandro Ottaviani, Jack Keithley, Isaac Price, Alexander Dorneden, Julian Kunze, Tim Yarshel, Michael Rachel, Manuel Rodriguez, Ben Spanky, Luciano Wittvoet, Andre Santos, Michael Costa, and Axel Vermeulen. Those are the 14 drivers that will be representing Team Shmee150 here for this season. And on the other side, you have Team Malmedie, comprising of Florian Hassa, Lucas Muller, Emre Cian. You've got Mark Garsner, Marco Pejic in there as well. Aaron Pinces, Leonard Krippner, Peter Pilske also representing Team Malmedie. You've got Sinyan Gunne, Martin Barner. You got Simone Pretri, Moritz Lona, Max Pfeiffer, and Leonard Carton. So those are going to be your 24 drivers that will be taking to the track not only this evening, but of course throughout the rest of this season. And well, speaking of the entire season, let's have a look at what tracks we'll be heading to over the course of this one. First up, we have Spa Francorchamps, probably one of the most famous racetracks in the world, and this list certainly doesn't have a shortage of famous racetracks, let me tell you that, because next time we'll be heading out to the Nürburgring, then the Red Bull Ring, we head across the pond over into Road America, we go to the complete other side of the world to have a race at Bathurst, and then we return for the season finale at Macau. So this is going to be a very, very intriguing schedule, especially towards the back end, those final 3 races, maybe some tracks that you don't really expect coming into this series, especially with Bathurst and the carnage sometimes that can be Macau at the very end of the season. So I am very, very excited to see what this season has to offer here. We've got some of the top names here in the RaceRoom side of esports, and thank you very much to the support that Shmee and Malmedie have given to this series as well. Let's see some healthy competition between those two drivers. But of course, we do have to move things along rather swiftly here, and we of course do have a track guide of Spa Francorchamps to show you, and well, we'll just take you through that right about now.
Here we are, REMUS GT3 Championship, the first race at the famous Circuit de Spa Francorchamps in Belgium. I'm on board the 911 GT3R, ready to take you for a lap as we go and experience and get a feel for this incredibly famous venue, host of many special races through the years, and of course now the first destination for the GT3 Championship. So let's get this started, see how well I can do as I bring you along. We have the very, very tight first corner, braking down hard, perhaps too much there, as I get a little bit comfortable with what we're doing, and then down towards one of the most famous sections of any racetrack anywhere in the world, through Eau Rouge and Radion, as we come down here. Famously, of course, for trying not to lift, I'm going to give a little lift as we go through here and keep it on the tarmac, through the tight corners, and then down towards the Kemmel Straight, building up the speed, reaching almost the top end of the 6th gear before we're going to have some very, very heavy braking going into the corners up here. Firm on the brakes, then down through the gears. Almost too much braking in this GT3 Porsche 911. going to make our way through. Now, I've been lucky to drive here at Spa a couple of times in years prior. It is one of my favourite circuits in the entire world. The elevations, the speed, some of the fast corners, the flowing final sections, but equally the hairpins and very, very tight sections. And where we're actually coming up to now, Pouhon as well, one particularly challenging, very high downforce, very fast corner, where a car like this can really excel as it makes its way through. So this is actually Pouhon into fourth gear, hold it here, long corner, drifted slightly wide unfortunately, and release on the exit down towards this lower back section of the racetrack. Of course, it's seen a number of different iterations through the years, but this is the full current layout operating from the new pits as we now get towards this section. I'm trying to concentrate and work out exactly what I'm doing as we make our way through here. Now, flat on the throttle, small lift through here, as we're then going to come through towards Blanchiment, up to the red line, building the speed. We'll get up into sixth gear in a second. Hold it flat through here. Feeling the G-forces. Small lift so I don't end up going off too wide on the exit. And then we've got the famous bus stop chicane. Another very heavy braking zone. Right the way down. I'm going to take first gear even. Well, we survived the first lap here at Spa Francorchamps. What an amazing circuit, what an amazing place to drive, and the first venue for the REMUS GT3 Championship.
Well, that was a bit of a track guide there from Shmee. It is much appreciated, but I guess most of our viewers are definitely all of our drivers will certainly be not be unfamiliar with the racetrack, shall we say. Even if you're a casual motorsports fan, you probably know the way around this circuit, let's just say that. But we've got practice going on here at the moment. Hello everyone, my name is Connery Maddock. I'm going to be your English commentator here today for the REMUS GT3 Championship here on RaceRoom. And well, drivers just out there getting themselves their practice times in. We've got about, well, just a handful of minutes left to go here of practice. There's the provisional order that you can see on the left-hand side of your screen for the moment. So whether or not this will tell us anything when it comes to qualifying still remains to be seen. But of course, just to recap the whole format of today, we have two 20-minute races to get on with here. Of course, we'll be getting into the qualifying for the first race very, very shortly. But in that second race, of course, will be an entirely full reverse grid. So usually in championships you'll see only maybe the top 8, the top 10, the top however many get yourself a reverse grid. But no, in this series you get yourself a full reverse grid. So that is going to shake up the order quite a bit, and well, it's going to require a lot of swift moves from those guys that are quick in qualifying and are quick in the first race to be able to work their way back up through the field. That's going to be so important over the course of this season. It's going to be absolutely crazy, let me tell you that. But we've got ourselves a fantastic amount of talent out there here today, with the likes of Moritz Sloner, of course, has won many a championship here on RaceRoom. We've got Payich, who's always up there competing as well. Haas setting some quick times here at the moment. Keith Lee Russell. So it's generally the names that you will expect to see here as far as the top level of esports is here on RaceRoom. And well, someone says, what's with the green Audis here for the moment? Well, of course, it's all to do with the teams, because we got Team Shmee and we've also got Team Malmedie as well. So which is why you only see two different liveries out there here today. Here's a couple of groups of drivers here as Christopher Hergfeldt heading his way through in the Corvette here at the moment. Of course, GT3 cars for this series. It's all in the name of the championship, I suppose. But And there we are, as they are heading their way through the La Fagna chicane for the moment in one of their final laps of practice. So not a very long time to go here whatsoever. So Moritz Lohner leading them in terms of the times here for the moment. He's just chilling down on towards pit lane here, just to maybe give himself a little bit of a break before he gets himself out there and racing here today. And of course, you know, the anticipation is rather high for races like this one. It's the first round of the season, and it's so important for you to get yourself off on the right foot. You can't afford to have a poor result here today at Spa, otherwise you're going to be trying to chase up all of that lost time and lost points over the course of the rest of the season. So you want to keep yourself in contention here early on. And as we always say in the vast majority of championships, the consistency means everything. If you win a couple of races here and there but finish bottom last in the rest of them, well, that is not a way to win a championship. But we'll just have to wait and see with regards to the exact situation in, well, a couple of races time, I suppose. Still very, very early doors. We haven't even got the first race of the season started just yet, but we're watching a couple of drivers head their way through and around at the moment. Here is Emre Can, of course, from Turkey. There's some decent representation in terms of the drivers from different countries here in this series. Of course, you see a whole bunch of representation from Germany, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen at the moment. But we do have a couple of Brits in there. We have the Swedish driver of Christopher Högfeldt. We have the Turkish driver of Emre Can also involved in this. A handful of Italians. So you got some French flag down there as well, along with Dutch and Swiss and Serbian as well. At least I believe that's Serbian. I have to try and brush up on my flags. As I know, Slovakia. There we go. Slovakia for Bence Banki. So decent representation here in this one. What's the race format from today? Says Crypto or Cypriot. I can't really say that, unfortunately, on stream. But what's the race format from the day? Well, of course, we have 20-minute races here today. Two 20-minute races, and for the second race, we will have a full reverse grid based on the results of race number 1. So that race number 2, I think, is probably something that everyone is going to be looking forward to at this stage, as we have the drivers that hit a hard bit of luck, or perhaps were just flat out slow in the first race, get themselves to the front couple of positions, at least initially, for the start of the race number 2. So that can always cause some interesting situations. But as we continue to watch Emre Can, I believe Team Malmedie is going to be in the green here, and Team Shmee will be in the blue-coloured cars. So that's an easy way to try and differentiate between who is who here in this one. But for the moment, we're seeing the driver of Isaac Price now head his way across the line. There's the blue of Team Shmee. So Team Malmedie will be in the green cars, and Team Shmee will be in the blue cars. That's going to be how you're going to be able to tell the difference here. It's going to make my life a little bit more difficult, considering that, well, half the grid is in the same livery. So it's going to be quite hard to tell just on first appearance exactly which driver is which. But believe me, I will be trying my best. But for the moment, we've got a couple of minutes left here in qualifying. Of course, a lot of support from Team Turkey there. Well, it's not Team Turkey. They do have 2 Turkish drivers. Do Team, or rather one, well, there are going to be 2 Turkish drivers indeed for Team Malmedie here for the moment. So we've got Emre Can out there for the moment. I'm not seeing, however, Senyan Gune out there on circuit, or at least has not been able to set a time just yet. I have to wonder what the situation is for him. But less than a minute to go here in practice, and Damiel Doring saying, I hope the pace car is yellow. I'm not sure, actually. I cannot confirm nor to deny whether the pace car is yellow, but I guess we will have to see if we get a good shot down pit lane to see what colour the pace car actually is here in this one. But shortly we'll get ourselves qualifying started, of course, for this first event. Of course, if you're worried about the balance of performance, the balance of performance is tuned, of course, for each and every series, each and every race here in this one. So the race administrator is looking to try and get all manufacturers as close together as possible. And of course, just like the real world, the balance of performance sometimes a bit of a heated topic, shall we say. But of practice quickly drawing itself to a close here. We'll get ourselves qualifying started in a couple of moments. But just to clarify a little bit more on the formats here today, we have a qualifying length of 10 minutes. Of course, I've already said we have two 20-minute races. And we'll get a standing start, of course, here in this series. Standing start in GT3s always can be relatively tricky. So we'll see how these drivers get on with regards to that. And also another interesting point, the teams only gain points from their best 8 drivers per race. They have 14 drivers in each competing, at least that's what's shown on the entry list. But only the best 8 drivers over the course of a race are going to be able to score their team points. So maybe that gives some teams, or rather one of the two teams, a little bit of a buffer zone, just in case a couple of their drivers don't perform very well. Those drivers that finish at the very back, for them, will not get any points scored towards their total. So as long as they can secure out the front couple positions and maybe a handful of drivers towards the bottom of the order, it should be absolutely fine. But qualifying has indeed started here for the REMUS GT3 Championship for 2021 for the first time here at Spa Francorchamps for 2021. And it's a whole big swarm of cars as they try to negotiate their positioning for the first of their flying laps here. And it's going to be an interesting element to this one as well, because you have these only two very big teams here for this one. You'll see these drafting packs of the same color of car. So especially at not so heavily drafted pattern here, but the draft matters more here than some other tracks on the schedule. You'll see all of these cars try to clump together, try and get themselves the best advantage possible, which is why you're seeing the separation in terms of the green cars and of course in terms of the blue cars here as well from the two different teams. So for the moment, everyone just still trying to find their space, which is fair to say. So you see Team Shmee, they're going to be in the blue cars, and Team Malmedie are going to be in the green cars. So like I said, that's the best way for you to try and keep track of everything going on here. Of course, with regards to individual drivers, well, it just gets that little bit trickier to try and tell the difference. But again, I said I'll try my best to try and describe the action here today. I have all the timing information after all. But coming towards the end of the outlap here, of course, important to get your tyres and pressures up to the, the tyre temperatures and tyre pressures up into the correct operating window here while they're trying to negotiate their own little bit of space to run in as well. So you can see this whole bunch of Team Shmee cars all trying to line up nose to tail. I have to try and find where the bulk of the Team Malmedie cars are for the moment. So all I'm seeing is Team Shmee at the moment. So the Team Malmedie cars are more towards the very front of the field, or front of the train is the way to describe it here in the initial parts of qualifying. They'll come across the line to start the first of their flying laps here. And we're looking at Florian Hasser with focus on the cameras here for the moment. He heads his way down into perhaps the most famous sequence of corners anywhere in the world, the Eau Rouge and Radion complex. You just fling the car in there, try and not lift as much as you dare. Try and carry the speed over the top of the hill and down to the Kemmel Straights. Next big braking zone down in towards Lecum. One of your main overtaking opportunities here today, especially if you get a good run out of Eau Rouge and Radion. You can really quite easily slingshot yourself a position or two, perhaps, down in towards Lecum, as we have seen on previous occasions. The daring the better, if you ask me, coming down into there. Coming down into Bruxelles, then this winding right-hander as you start to descend the hill in towards what used to be a corner with no name, but however, it does have a name now, Jackie X corner. Of course, that left-hander as you continue to descend the gradient in towards one of the most fantastic corners in all of motorsports, I believe, the double apex left-hander, again continuing down the hill of Pouhon, and then you get yourself set into the technical section of La Farnier. Of course, no drivers have set themselves a time just yet. This is, of course, the first lap that they'll be able to set here. And now we head our way into the first of the two Stavelots. Of course, Stavelo 2 it has a more common name of Curva-Pro-Fret. So that's where these guys are heading through at the moment. Make sure you don't tease too much with the track limits on the exit of that corner, lest your lap will be invalidated here in qualifying. So now through the basically the fastest corner on the racetrack. This is Blanchimont. And, well, I'll have to wonder if we'll get to see 2 wide through there at some point over the course of the 2 events. Then you get yourself slowed way, way down to the slowest complex on the track, through the bus stop and out of the final corner to set yourself your first lap time here in qualifying, as those times will slowly start to populate on the left-hand side of your screen. So Moritz Lohner setting the fastest time in qualifying at the moment. Of course, provisional times, these are the first laps. Of course, they will get well, they will get, I think, 2 more laps of it if they stick out there and don't take the tow back to pit lane. So Moritz Lohner setting the early pace by a 1/10.5 over Marco AH there, with Jack Keithley third there for Team Shmee. So the top 2 cars at the moment are from Team Malmedie, but Team Shmee in 2nd place, Team Shmee in 3rd place, and Team Shmee in 4th and 5th place. And well, you have to look all the way back to 6th place to see the next Team Malmedie driver here in this one. So it seems like, despite not occupying the front row for the moment, Team Shmee, I get the feeling, hold the advantage here in this one. But everything can change by the end of qualifying. We've already had 22 drivers set themselves lap times here. There are 31 currently out there on circuit. So a good group of drivers, just under a quarter of drivers have not been able to set themselves a lap time just yet. Delatraz, of course, getting himself on the board, at least the Swiss driver in the Porsche, down towards the bottom of the order for the moment, about 2.5 seconds off of the pole position setting time for the moment. So a lot of work to do for Delatraz to try and get back up through the order. Here in this one, maybe that was just a little bit of a banker lap for him, and he can go chasing for more lap time a little bit later on in this session. It's so important, of course, to get that first lap in the bag so you don't have to panic towards the very end of the session to try and get yourself a lap time set. Here's Andres Santos in the Porsche from Team Shmee for the moment, out there on his own, which is certainly not ideal. You really do want at least a little bit of slipstream here at Spa, and the drift through the bus stop is not going to help either, so I doubt Andre Santos is going to be able to improve on his time here. Here's a group of the Team Shmee cars at the moment, still continuing to circulate themselves around. Like I said, despite not locking out the front row for the moment, they've gotten most of their cars into a pretty decent position for the moment, and that's the thing that matters in terms of the Influencer Championship here. Very warm welcome to Shmee himself, who has made himself known in the chats there, and well, very glad that you're able to join us, and I guess you're hoping that your team does well here in qualifying, like they seem to be doing already, and that'll translate to a result in race number 1. But of course, race number 2 is where things can potentially change, given our big old reverse grid, full reverse grid for race number 2 here in this one. So definitely some excitement on the horizon here. Here's a couple of the Team Malmedie cars with Max Pfeiffer involved at the moment, but he's going to have to take the tow back towards pit lane for some reason. I wonder if his lap got invalidated coming off the top of Eau Rouge and Radion there. So that's one of the places where you can do it, and yet more drivers, of course, taking the tow back to pit lane. And well, with the amount of time left remaining, it's very doubtful that they'll be able to get around in time to be able to set themselves another flying lap here. So we do have to be very, very cautious of the time remaining here in this one. It works a little bit, sometimes a little bit strangely here in RaceRoom with regards to whether you can complete the final lap that you're on or not. But it's one of those things that we do, of course, have to keep an eye on. Thank you very much, everyone, for commenting so far. We've got Hastademu Touring saying this race is so environmentally friendly. Half the cars are green. And yeah, I'd absolutely agree with you. Apart from the fact that these GT3 cars, these are GT3 cars, hence the not most economical of racing, I suppose, here in this one. Of course, there has been developments and technological innovation over the years to make racing cars just that little bit more environmentally friendly. No Jardier or Niels from Team Shmee, says Fly Sky. I am seeing Niels Nudrox towards the bottom of the order at the moment here. There he is, down, not setting a lap time just yet for Niels Nudrox. So it's a little bit of a struggle for the BMW driver for Team Shmee for the moment, so he's going to be hoping that he at least is able to get this lap in towards the end of the session to be able to promote himself a little bit further up that starting grid. But of course, as we'll get ourselves the results up on screen for you for the moment. Of course, this doesn't show automatically. It doesn't necessarily mean that the session is over here. You can see the positions changing already, but it's Moritz Lohner and Martin Barner that currently occupy the front row, with Isaac Bryce and Marco Ajic on row number 2. Jack Heathley and Florian Hasse will line up 5th and 6th, with Michael Rachel in 7th, Max Pfeiffer in P8 here today, Alexander Dornaden in 9th, with Mark Garsner rounding out the top 10 here in this one. Otto Viani starts in 11th, with Lucas Muller in 12th, Christopher Högvalt in 13th, and Trim Yarshel in 14th. The rest of the names, of course, you can read a little bit further down the order there. So a little bit of a mixed up grid with regards to our two teams here today. We'll get ourselves around about 7 minutes of a warm-up session here for the drivers to prepare for the race to come. But I guess the names that we saw at the very top of the order, not entirely surprising, shall we say. It's Moritz Lohner, Martin Barner, some of the top competitors here on RaceRoom, same with Isaac Price, Pajic, Hasse, Rachel Pfeiffer, Dornaden, all names that you'd be very familiar with if you follow RaceRoom esports closely. So we'll see how those guys perform at the very front of the field. What I am interested in, though, is those drivers that weren't able to set themselves a lap time in qualifying, trying to work their way back through the order in race number 1. So Niels Nudrak's one of them. Mikael Costa didn't set himself a time either. So the 2 BMWs down at the bottom of the order going to have a quite big task to deal with over race number 1 here. Christia Jones also down the order. Michael Brautigam further down as well. So we had Delatraz did set himself a time. It wasn't a very good time, however. So he'll be starting down in P27 for the first race here today. So there are a good group of drivers towards the back, even Wittvoet and Banki, that are certainly very, very capable drivers indeed, that have gotten themselves a little bit caught out of position in the qualifying there for race 1. So keep an eye on those guys to see how far they can climb through the order for their respective teams. REMUS saying, what game is this? This is RaceRoom, is the simulator that we're using for the REMUS GT3 Championship here for 2021. Fantastic sim indeed, and it really does promote some close racing. We run a good couple of esports championship here on this platform, and the racing is always pretty tight, so I'm certainly very happy with it, at least from a commentary perspective. Luca D'Amelio says, why has everyone got either a green or blue livery? And yes, for those that are just tuning in, that didn't get the initial exposition that I gave at the very start of the broadcast. The drivers, of course, are involved in their own team's championship. That one is pretty obvious. But we also do have an influencer team championship, shall we say. So the drivers have been divided into 2 teams. That is Team Shmee, Shmee150, and of course Team Malmedie as well. So Team Malmedie are the drivers that are in the green liveries, and Team Shmee are the drivers that are in the blue liveries. And there's a separate championship for this influencer team competition. The top 8 drivers in each race will score themselves points towards their team. So that's the situation there. So we kind of got 2 championships being run in tandem here at the moment. If you're familiar with Formula 1, it's kind of like that, except we only have 2 constructors, I suppose, here in this one, and many more team members. So that's how things are structured here in the REMUS GT3 Championship for 2021. We are a couple of moments away, a couple of minutes away, in fact, getting our gridding procedure underway for race number 1. Of course, we saw the front row lockouts come through for Team Malmedie, but it seems like the green livery cars a little bit more spread through the field than they would have perhaps wanted. They might have wanted a good few other cars to join their front row starters here in this one, but we will have to see how the race goes. And if those drivers can steal themselves a good couple of positions away, I would say Team Shmee probably have the advantage coming out of that qualifying session despite not taking those front 2 spots due to the critical mass of cars that they had inside the top 10 and top 15. And Well, I guess Shmee is probably going to be the stream's favourite for the moment, given he's the one that's interacting in our YouTube chat at the moment and giving his team all of his support as is possible. Unfortunately, Shmee won't be racing. Of course, I believe he did race in the, I believe it might have been the show race that we had just a week or so ago. Of course, I wasn't able to be around for that one, unfortunately, which is why the wonderful guys at RaceRoom and their partners did that from their studio, which is meant to be for the German stream. By the way, there of course is a German stream available as well if you prefer to listen to the commentary in German, and of course that is available as well on the, I think it's on the REMUS YouTube channel, where you can find the German stream here for this one. They have a whole fancy studio and everything as well, so it's about 1,000,000 times better in terms of production than what I'm able to pull off here at the moment. We'll see how that develops over the course of the season. Green is the opposite of red, so I guess I wrote for Team Blue. Okay, I guess everyone has their reasoning with regards to which team they're going to be supporting here today. And well, at least from my unbiased view, I only just hope for good racing here, as that's what we all sit down to watch sim racing and even real life motorsports for. The close competition between all of the teams and all of the drivers is paramount, at least for me. And with the standards of drivers that we do have in this field here today, I think we're going to get it. Let's just say that. So we're currently watching Petr Pilska just sandwiched between those two Team Shmee cars for the moment. As being green liveried, he is part of Team Malmedie. The Italian just looking to try and get his sights set here for race number 1 and to make sure that everything in the car is as it should be here for this one. Of course, if you're wondering about the settings, of course the RaceRoom difficulty has been set to Get Real, which is the most realistic simulation settings that you can have on RaceRoom. And our tyre wear, fuel usage has all been set to normal. We'll have full damage here in this one as well. There'll be no mandatory pit stops. However, there is a fixed setup in effect, so the drivers haven't been able to configure their cars whatsoever. So they've just been given a fixed setup here for this one. So despite the difference, well, with the only difference between the cars are the difference in the manufacturers and, of course, the difference in the drivers. So there's no setup difference between two drivers that have the same manufacturer here in this one. So that makes things just that little bit closer. If you're not a setup wizard, then, of course, that advantage of those guys that are has been negated here in this one. But with the warm-up time expired, we can get ourselves transitioned over into racing mode here for the first round of the REMUS GT3 Championship here on RaceRoom. I'm very thankful that you guys are able to join us here on the English stream. Gridding procedure underway, so a maximum of a minute before we go racing here at Spa Francorchamps for round number 1, race number 1. Remember, we'll have 2 20-minute races here today. That's certainly something to get excited about, especially considering that race number 2 is the full reverse grid. So the driver that finishes dead last will get themselves a pole position for race number 2. So that's certainly an interesting predicament that the drivers will just have to try and negotiate amongst themselves. So we'll get ourselves our race started here in just a couple of moments' time. You can see the front row lockout there for Team Malmedie. And, well, relatively decent amount of green cars behind them, especially on that inside line coming down in towards turn number 1. So Malmedie potentially poised to be able to gain themselves a good handful of positions here on the start, at least compared to Team Shmee. We're all ready to get racing here in the REMUS GT3 Championship for 2021. Race number 1 at Spa Francorchamps is about to get itself underway. Long hold before we get ourselves green here at Spa as the drivers all fan out down in towards turn number 1. It's been a good start from pole position from Moritz Lohner. He'll lead them down in towards turn number 1. Big challenge for P2 between Isaac Bryce and Martin Barner there, as they'll try and fight over that second podium spot. Coming down the hill for the first time. Who's going to back out in towards Eau Rouge and Radion? It's not ideal to go side by side into here, but they're going to continue with it regardless. There's the bit of contact that I thought would happen. Barner's able to keep hold of it though, but he's lost all of his momentum coming up on towards the Camel Straight, and now he's going to be swamped by his teammates behind, which isn't the worst thing in the world for Team Malmedie, but there's a whole bunch of Team Shmee cars that are looking to try and get themselves through on this one as they head their way down in towards Lickham for the first time. Barner and Hasser trying to fight it out amongst themselves as part of the same team there, and Jack Keithley in the Team Shmee car, in the Team Shmee Bentley, looking to try and gain some early positions here. He hasn't been able to make all that much forward progress here in the at least after Lickham. But looking back through Bruxelles then, Michael Rachel looking to the outside on Mark Gassner. He'll be able to maintain that P7 here for the moment. So a little bit of a frantic start there, especially worrying when you see too wide into Eau Rouge and Radion for the first time. That never ends well, and it almost ended very, very poorly indeed for Barner. He does lose that second place on the start as a result, so Isaac Price promoted up into second. Of course, we do have our student team to try and decide fault and penalties, for instance, that you may see. A little bit of fighting further down the order there. In and amongst, I believe it was, it's Christopher Hergfeldt and Emre Cihan that are fighting wheel to wheel. So this is the second direct Team Shmee versus Team Malmedie battle that we've seen over the course of this race. A little bit of a wiggle there from Emre Cihan coming off of curve at Paul Frere. He'll look to try and fight things on the way down in towards Blanchimont and then into the braking zone of the bus stop. But all single file affair. Coming through that fastest corner on the racetrack. Maybe there's going to be moves being made on the brakes in towards that bus stop. There is that towards the very front of the field battle between two teammates of Florian Hasser and Martin Barner. So Barner at risk of losing another position from where he started here. I think he might be a bit clear coming in towards La Source. No, as Hasser's still trying to fight it with his teammate, and this might play into the hands, in fact, of Jack Keithley, who's all over the back of this one, looking to try and find a way through. Of course, he does have to be concerned about what's going on in his rearview mirror at the moment, because you have Marko Pejic all over the back of him in that Porsche. So having to look ahead and behind here for Jack Keithley as he tries to sit inside the slipstream on the way down the Camel Straights, getting the double slipstream off of the two cars ahead of him. He'll move towards the inside here, same as Florian Hasser moving to the inside, and his teammate almost three wide, heading their way down in towards Lecombe, but they'll be able to get themselves that all negotiated. Has Jack Keithley got himself this pass? He's rubbing doors with Florian Hasser trying to squeeze through, and it's two positions in one sequence of corners for Jack Keithley. That's fantastic, but it's simply not done at this moment because Florian Hasser's trying to come back at him through the outside of Bruxelles. He can't find a line through there, unfortunately for him. So that's great couple of passes that you've seen there for Team Shmee. Jack Keithley going from 6th to 4th place in a very quick succession, and now he's going to try and look to try and get themselves, or rather get into one position, in fact, up into P4. I got myself a little bit tongue-tied there in that situation, as looking further back through the order, Michael Rachel involved in the thick of things with regards to Team Malmedie cars all around him at the moment. He can't quite catch a break, and he's got Alexander Dorneden bearing down on him. There's his teammate behind as well, trying to fight actively with Mark Gassner coming through those Stavolos. And, well, he'll be able to maintain position for now, but whether or not his run out of Paul Frere was compromised still remains to be seen, as Gassner now has to look behind him because Alexander Dorneden is looking to try and bear down on him. Looking to the outside, though, is Gassner coming up in towards Blanchimont, and, well, that's a very low probability move of happening, high risk move, however, as we head into the braking zone, into the bus stop. Dorneden looking for a line through, just as Gassner was trying to pass Rachel. Dorneden looking to pass Gassner instead, looking to try and take his opportunity with the compromise line from the Team Malmedie car. But this fight will still continue down in towards La Source. It's been no shortage of action here in race number 1, at least for the first 5 minutes. This first race of the season in the REMUS GT3 Championship 2021. I'm certainly enjoying it from where I'm sitting for the moment. All of this fighting, though, for the top 5 positions pack has really allowed Barcelona to try and stretch his legs at the very front of the field. Of course, he does have Isaac Price in tow behind, but the gap to Barna is extending for the moment. And here comes another move. In and amongst this little battle pack going on right now, Pajic and Keithley and Hasse leading that particular train for the moment, all trying to shuffle positions. The draft block trying to keep everyone in close contention for the moment, at least in this mid-pack where everyone remains so close. Back towards the back of this pack here as we see Jack Keithley trying to work his way through on these Team Malmedie cars for the moment, and well, this will be absolutely beneficial for his team's performance, considering that it seems like Team Shmee did not really get off to the absolute most wonderful of starts. Yes, they had Isaac Price get himself second place coming through Eau Rouge and Radion for the first time, but he might be at risk of a penalty considering how that move was done with the contact. So that's something to maybe be aware of coming into this one. Of course, I'll be able to try and keep my eye on what any stewards' decisions may be. I'll have to see whether those come through to me in a rapid fashion or not. But of course, if I do have news, I will indeed keep you updated as best as I can. But of course, coming up to, well, we're just past the quarter gone mark in this first race, and well, with the amount of passing, the amount of craziness that we saw in the mid-pack, you'd be forgiven for thinking this was our reverse grid race already, but trust me, it wasn't. So whether or not that bodes well for the reverse grid race still remains to be seen. Ryan Vaughan, yes, this is indeed the first race of two here today, as the race has come down just that little bit more here in this one. So after the initial franticness of that those opening couple of laps, seems drivers have settled themselves into a little bit of a rhythm here for the moment. Here's the very front of the field though. This is Barcelona versus Isaac Price. They are the two-car tandem that's kind of gotten away at the very front of the field here. They've got 2.7 seconds back to Martin Barna there, so a decent gap to be dealing with here at this stage. If they decide to fight, then they'll be clear for a couple of moments, but if they fight a little bit too much, then they risk drawing Martin Barna back into the competition at the very front of the field there. Looking back through the field, Garsner still getting involved with these Team Shmee cars, believe it or not. Michael Rachel in 7th place is the car ahead of him that he's trying to fight with, and Dorneden looking to commit to the outside through Bruxelles. This has been one of the favourite overtake attempts from drivers over the course of today, as Dorneden still committing down the inside of Jack Eaton's corner. Forces Mark Garsner just that little wide, but able to make sure that there's no contact between the two of them. That would have ended in tears for sure if there was, considering the positioning between the two of them. But through the exit of Huon, just have to be careful though, because any fighting that they do means that they lose track of the train a little bit further ahead of them, and as a result reduces their chance at trying to gain more positions at the end of this one. Garsner has a big task to do. He has three Team Shmee cars right behind him that he would prefer stay right behind him. He's been trying to pull off a pretty good defensive effort so far, but it only lasts for so long sometimes when drivers start to crack under the pressure. But here's the battle for the race lead then. Barcelona being challenged by Isaac Price in towards the bus stop. Price trying to swing in behind, trying to find a line through the bus stop that will work for the exit of the final corner, but again, not able to get himself alongside just yet. But that was the first shot from Isaac Price. As far as this race lead is concerned, the Team Malmedie cars currently occupying the majority of the top couple positions for the moment. They have P1 through, and then they have P3, P4, P5 for the moment. So it's a good point-scoring race so far for Team Malmedie. So Isaac Price's job here just becomes that little bit more imperative, as look at the run he got through Eau Rouge and Radion. That was incredible there from the driver of the Bentley, and now Price committing to the outside, perhaps in towards the Lecump. No, he's going to dip back in line, trying to get that slipstream down in towards the braking zone, but still not going to commit to the move. So this is good patience here from Price. Look how much more speed he can carry through the corners there, through the apexes of that Lecump section. Isaac Price driving the wheels off of that Bentley at the moment, and well, all of that fighting has kind of caused the gap to come down back to P3. Now that it's starting to get towards a second, so in amongst that entire sequence of fighting and getting close, they've lost a second back to Martin Barner. So Barner will be saying, okay guys, just do more of that, I can get myself involved and I can cause Isaac Price a bit of an issue, maybe take the heat off of Moritz Lohner here. That would be absolutely beneficial for Lohner's race in particular. But remember, despite them being a team's championship here in this one, there is still that Drivers' Championship. So there is still a little bit of infighting that has to be done amongst the teams for the Drivers' Championship. So the team allegiances aren't necessarily the most important thing or set in stone. Look at the slide from Jack Heathley coming through Stavolo there. That is not going to do his tyres any wonders, and well, as a result, he might even lose the slipstream here further down the road to Florian Hasse. So that's how one mistake can have big ramifications in a race like this one. Of course, he has a bit of support behind from Michael Rochel, but again, like I said, team's not necessarily the most important thing here, given that there's a Drivers' Championship to be concerned about as well. Now, Garstner looking to try and capitalize. A couple of slow cars ahead of him, but still can't find a line, an appropriate line through the bus stop to try and gain himself the advantage. We've crossed over into about 8.5 minutes left to go here in race number 1, well into the second half at this point. Still things very much undecided as far as the race lead is concerned, and look at how Martin Barner in that third place, that second green liveried car, a little bit towards the back of the shot, has been able to close in on this front two due to these guys having their scraps at the very front. So maybe there's another chance here for Isaac Price to try and make a move on the brakes in towards Lecombe, but it seems like for the vast majority of the laps that we've had, he's been content to sit behind, but not this time. He goes for the absolute centers. Lecombe, he's overcommitted though. Oh, and that's Lohner back through to the race lead. That was a big attempt there from Isaac Price to try and squeeze through, battling between the two teammates behind as Payich is trying to get the overtake done on Barner. Looks like he's got it done as well. And now it's Florian Hasse looking to try and get through on his teammates. There's 3 cars from the same team trying to fight in and amongst each other here. Not the most ideal situation. Like I said already, it's the team's championship that these guys also have to think about as well. Yeah, the Drivers' Championship as well as the Team Influencer Championship. So how you balance those two things, I am not entirely sure. Of course, a racing driver will want to try and get in positions, try and get to the race win no matter what, but sometimes the more sensible option would be to work with your teammates to try and gain those positions. So a couple of different philosophies that you can take coming into this one. But Moritz Lohner still leading at the moment. That is from lack of trying from Isaac Price, though. He's had a good couple of attempts already, pushing wide through Curva Pro Frere. You've got to be careful with the track limits a little bit through that sequence, but the wider you can take it, the better speed that you can maintain in towards Blanchimont, and then that might be able to set yourself up for a move into the bus stop. But again, Isaac Price about 0.6 of a second back at this point, so not in the ideal positioning to be able to go for the race lead at the moment. He just needs to be that little bit closer. A couple of tenths of a second, I would have thought, and he'll be in prime position to be able to get himself another attempt at overtaking the race leader. That's certainly what Team Shmee would be hoping for at the moment, because they're realizing now that, wait, there's a lot of these Team Malmedie cars inside of the top 5, and we need to do something about it. So maybe this group of Team Shmee cars that's coming ahead of Garstner looking to try and close the gap at this point, because if they don't, then it won't bode well in terms of their team's performance in this race. Of course, still very early on in the season. This is the first race here, and but the first race can mean a lot with regards to your momentum throughout the rest of the season. Here comes a little bit of an interesting situation between Dorneden and Garstner here. Dorneden looking around the outside in the Bentley. He's got himself a half a car length overlap, but that's simply not enough to try and get himself through there. He's caused Garstner to go on the defensive in towards Malmedie, which is ironic considering the team name, as we now head into Bruxelles, or Rivage if you are so inclined. It has a couple of names, but absolutely nose to tail for position number 8 between the Team Malmedie cars and the Team Shmee machines as well. I would say at this point, Team Malmedie holding a decent advantage. They've got the vast majority of the cars inside of the top 5 at the moment. They have the race leading car of Moritz Lohner, they have the 3rd place car of Pajic, 4th place car of Hasse, 5th place car of Barner. So there's 4 of the top 5 isn't bad going if you're Team Malmedie for the moment. Of course, Lohner still trying to keep Isaac Price at bay. That's going to be important, of course, with regards to which way the momentum is going to start off here in the Drivers' Championship. Who's gone wide there? That's Dorneden. Dorneden going very wide through Curve Pro Frere, and that's just gifted the position away to Lucas Müller, who's been able to squeeze his way through as a result of that mistake. So if you're concerned as Team Shmee at the moment, you've got to be a little bit more concerned now that you've lost another position and yet more points here towards the end of race number 1. We've got 4 minutes to go here in this one, and looks like there's going to be a potential swap between 2 teammates here. Ottaviani looking to try and find a way through on Dorneden towards the very back end of the lap. See some moves being made in towards La Source as well, as Ottaviani trying to defend from Leonard Krippner for P11, P12 here. Just outside the top 10, but the points could still be oh so important. Through Eau Rouge and Radion. I tried to refrain from all of the "that's Radion actually" jokes, but look at how close the 2 race leaders here are coming down in towards Lecombe. Isaac Price looking to the inside just to show the nose for now, trying to carry the momentum through the second apex. Might give him an opportunity if he can swing it through and get himself a run out of Malmedie and onto the brakes in towards Bruxelles. Let's look at the commitment around the outside from Isaac Price. Has he overdone it again though? He might have, as he gets a slap of oversteer coming through the middle of the corner, and now Pajic is looking to try and cause him a problem through Jackie Ick's corner. It's a second overtake attempt on the race lead there from Isaac Price, and for the second time he's overdone it a little bit. He knows how much commitment is required to try and get a pass over Lohner, but sometimes that line is oh so thin, and with the slides through Bruxelles there, going to overheat the tyres just that little bit, so it might be under threat for the next couple of moments from Marco Pajic and Florian Hasse. It's a huge gaggle of Team Malmedie cars at the very front, with just that lone Team Shmee car involved in the thick of things here for the moment. We are winding ourselves down into the very, very late stages of this event at the moment, and well, we'll get ourselves 1 lap to go, heading our way across the line next time around. The lap times are around about 2 minutes 16, 2 minutes 17 here at Spa Francorchamps in these cars. So it will be 1 lap to go next time we head our way across the line. Isaac Price again looking for a move. In fact, it's a defensive look, or rather a defensive line in towards the bus stop to try and keep Marco Pajic behind. Pajic is being Lohner's best friend at the moment, trying to keep Isaac Price occupied so he can't focus on trying to get that overtake done for the race lead. So into the source then for the final time here in this event. Pajic following less than 0.2 of a second behind Isaac Price here. He might be the driver that gets himself onto the second step of the podium after this lap is done. We'll just have to wait and see. Through Eau Rouge and Radion then for the final time. This is where typically Price has been pretty strong in that Bentley, carrying the speed through, but does he have enough of the slipstream to try and make a pass of it in towards Lecombe over Lohner? Lohner feeling the need to go defensive early on, but he will return back to the racing line. Price looking to the inside, maybe to try and cover off Pajic from behind as well, but Pajic is not going to go for a move in that Porsche here just yet either. So the status quo has been maintained through the first sector into the second sector now. Down in towards Bruxelles, no one close enough to be able to make a pass just yet. So now I'm getting the feeling this might all be sorted out coming through Longchamp and into the bus stop on this final lap. That might be what decides the podium positions here. Of course, Team Malmedie are laughing all the way to the bank at the moment with how many cars they have at the very front. But of course, you do have the Team's Drivers' Championship to be concerned about as well. People already saying, GG Moritz, well done. I wouldn't necessarily say that for the moment, because Price has done very well on this final lap to try and close that gap up just that little bit more. It just requires the execution now on the part of Price to try and get himself through. But Lona is probably one of the most difficult cars to try and overtake here in this series. Of course, he's an absolute veteran when it comes to RaceRoom esports racing here on RaceRoom. It's dropping back behind just that little bit. Time has expired, so that's all the confirmation that you need with regards to this being the final lap. It's going to have to be a last-ditch attempt for Isaac Price to try and squeeze his way through on this final lap. Has to carry the momentum through Blanchimont, forces Lona to go defensive. He's going to have to go the long way around here, in towards the bus stop and late on the brakes as he dares. He has a little bit of an overlap here, in towards the second apex. They make a little bit of contact as they head their way through the final corner, and Pajic might even be able to get himself P2 here. Moritz Lona wins this first race, but who comes second? It will be Price by the skin of his teeth. He needed to do something drastic and last minute there to try and overtake Moritz Lona. It was unsuccessful, but in doing so, he almost lost second place there. That was so close there. The second coming across the line. Everyone else further down the order. We got a little bit of battling further back between Broughtigram and Costa and Pfeiffer, all involved in positions just outside the top 20 there, but that was a little bit of a chaotic finish to this one. Price, he needed an attempt there. He on the final lap into the final couple of corners. That's exactly what he needed to do, but this time unsuccessful. Moritz Lona, with a fantastic defense, by the way, able to come away with the race win here today. There's the confirmation of the results from race 1. Of course, unofficial due to stewards' inquiries that might have to happen a little bit later on. But Price in second place, Pajic in third, Hasser in fourth, Barner in fifth. And you can just see the good concentration of Team Malmedie cars that are on the very front of that field. All those green liveries scoring some good points for Team Malmedie. The mid-pack sort of more dominated by Team Shmee cars here at the moment as you cycle things down, P15, 16, 17, 18 there in that situation. But you also see a good group of Team Shmee cars towards the very back of the order here, which is not ideal for their team's championship here in this one. And well, it is an exciting first race here in the REMUS GT3 Championship for 2021. There's a recap of the participants for each team here in this one. And as we get ourselves ready and set to go into that reverse grid race, which is going to be absolutely crazy, I get the feeling here today. But wow, that was certainly a very interesting one, shall we say? And I'm very thankful everyone's able to join us for that first race. And well, we'll see what the second race has to offer here in just a couple of moments. But congratulations from DJ Pixel Girl, who says congratulations to Team Shmee for second place. And well, they'll be happy about the second, and Isaac Price certainly will be happy about the second. I get the feeling he might be kicking himself a little bit that he wasn't able to get the pass done for the race lead at the very end there. But fantastic racing here in the first race. And I got to say, if you thought that race number 1 was exciting, then let me tell you, race number 2 with this full reverse grid might be even more crazy. I have quite limited experience with regards to full reverse grids here with the championships that I commentate on, but for those that I have done, it can get very interesting very quickly. And well, we'll see what happens there. But 50/50 Pred says, what happened to Jaroslav Honzik, Jardier? I'm not sure actually what happened to Jardier with regards to his competitiveness in this season. We will just have to try and figure that one out as things go on. But yeah, these guys seemingly delivering time and time again here, not just in the REMUS Esports or REMUS GT3 Championship, but of course we have ourselves the a couple of other championships that happen here on RaceRoom as well, which, if you're familiar with RaceRoom Esports, these names certainly will not surprise you here in this one. But as we wait to get ourselves set for race number 2 here in this one, then, of course, great race from Moritz Lona. And well, we expect typically Moritz Lona to be at the very pointy end of things when it comes to RaceRoom Esports. But we have ourselves Sometimes it gets into a little bit different situation when we go from different series to different series about which drivers are actually the most, the strongest out of everyone else. But it was also a good result for Team Malmedie as well, as we continue to have a look at the entry list there of just to get yourself familiar with which driver is a part of which team. Malmedie, they had 4 cars inside of the top 5 for this race number 1, which is great to see from them. Gets themselves out of the blocks here in the REMUS GT3 Championship in the best way possible. But of course, we still have just one more race to get ourselves over and done with here with that reverse grid race for race number 2. John Muller saying, who's the commentator? Well, my name is Connery Maddock, and I am a sim racing commentator that's been doing this for way too long at this point. Maybe not as long as some others, but since about 2016 I've been doing this, and it's always a pleasure that everyone keeps trying to ask me to do commentary on these events, and I certainly very much enjoy doing them. Someone pointed out the Payich having a very, very good performance here in this one as well, and I would definitely agree. He didn't have the most exemplary of qualifyings, but however, during that race, he was able to get himself back up through that order and back up into contention, shall we say? But we will have to get ourselves into the next session here shortly. I'm just trying to find the exact details with regards to that for the moment, as it, of course, has to get the server reset and get ourselves all set and running here, shall we say. So it will take us a handful of moments to do that. But in the meantime, I guess you guys can keep yourself entertained, and I can keep waffling on here on the commentary as well. I'm very thankful that you guys are able to join us. Great commentating. Thank you very much. It is very, very much appreciated when you get your work recognized. So thank you very much for the support in the chat there. We do have a little bit of a lull in proceedings here for the moment due to the fact that we do have to transition over into that second event. But it looks like we don't have to wait all that much longer here in this one, because they're already in the warm-up here for race number 2, and we can get ourselves all set for the second race, which will be a full reverse grid. And well, for those drivers that had incidents and had to take retirement, and for those that were just not really on the ball here for race number 1, well, this is a golden opportunity for them to try and get themselves back up into a good points-paying position here for this first event, because for some of the drivers it is sorely needed, and even for Team Shmee it is needed at this point to make sure that things are a little bit more level pegging heading into the second event that we'll have here in the REMUS GT3 Championship. Of course, points all extends down to P28 here in this series, but as we said, for reasons of the points scoring for teams, only the top 8 drivers score points for their team, but everyone scores points for their individual drivers' championship campaign. Of course, we start things off here at Spa in terms of the championship, and then we'll head ourselves over to the Nürburgring for round number 2, and then we head to the Red Bull Ring for round number 3. So that's the first portion of the season here today. And well, there we go. We've got on-track action going on for the moment as we draw warm-up very briefly here in the moment to a close, and we'll get ourselves our reverse grid set for race number 2. And well, I'm certainly very excited, at least for the opening couple of laps in this one, knowing that how reverse grid races can be a little bit chaotic on the start. So I'm just setting your expectations here for this one. Someone's saying that's kind of funny that most drivers are German, and that is a theme that we have seen, in fact, over the course of RaceRoom Esports. It seems like most of the fast drivers on RaceRoom are Germans, so it just so happens that most of the top competitions comprise of Germans. And yeah, I mean, of course, Germany has a very, very big motorsports culture, so you can understand that from that perspective. Not that other countries don't, it's just that it seems here on RaceRoom, it seems that the German contingent is probably the strongest country in terms of driver talent out here today. Of course, we do have good couple of other countries represented. We have Christopher Hugville from Sweden. We have Emre Cihan and Sinan Güney from Turkey as well. Turkey very, very competitive, in fact, from time to time here on RaceRoom as well. So they're certainly a country to look out for. You have a couple of Brits as well, which, of course, you know, I have to be careful about my bias with regards to the British drivers, but yeah, they are a handful in the top level of RaceRoom esports. There are two in this race, in fact, with Isaac Price and Jack Keithley, so it's great to see them out there. A couple of Italians as well, Ottaviani and Preti. Not entirely sure of the pronunciation there, but a handful of Italians regardless. And, well, we'll soon get ourselves the gridding procedure underway for our reverse grid race for the REMUS GT3 Championship here on RaceRoom. Race number 2 at Spa, still event number 1 though, and, well, we'll see how this reverse grid mixes things up in the grand scheme of things. So those drivers that finished at the very front in race number 1, so we had Moritz Lohner and Isaac Price. They will be starting at the very final row of the starting grid here today. So it's going to be a very, very big task for them to try and work their way through the field here in race number 2, and more importantly, without incident. And this is also a good opportunity for Team Shmee, though, because they had a good amount of their drivers towards the very back of the field in that first race. So now, as a result, they have been promoted towards the very front of the field. So as long as the blue team Shmee cars can hold on at the very front, they should be able to recover a good handful of the points lost in that first race. So we're all set here as Bent Banki is in pole position with Niels Nujoks on the front row, Rodriguez and Vermeulen on row number 2. Let's see how this race 2 works out then here at Spa Francorchamps in the REMUS GT3 Championship on RaceRoom. We are away and heading our way down in towards turn number 1 for the first time. Led by Bent Banki is Andre Santos that's been able to get ahead of Niels Nujoks for second place. Nujoks falling into the third, and he's having to, in fact, fight with Max Pfeiffer. Max Pfeiffer out of nowhere getting himself up into the podium positions here, at least early on, and he's got a bunch of cars behind him. In terms of the train of Team Shmee cars are looking to try and recover that one. We get ourselves side by side for the race lead as well between Bent Banki and Andre Santos here. Banki trying to hold on to his pole position and hold on to his first place. Looks like he will be able to down into the braking zone. A little bit of a jostling for position behind. Pfeiffer stamps his authority on that third place that he was able to gain off the start there. A whole bunch of Team Shmee cars also trying to file in out for, try and sort themselves out for position here. It's very hard to try and keep track of everything going on for the moment because it seems to be passes being made left, right and centre. Louis Delatraz sticking one down the inside of his teammate, forcing his teammate to actually go pretty wide there. That's not exactly ideal there if you're Delatraz. But in the Porsche continuing on his way, and now you can see how this is basically a mirror image of race number 1 with the majority of the Team Shmee cars at the very front of the field, and those very well performing Team Malmedie cars from the first race are having to try and work their way through on this whole bunch of traffic here at the moment. Let's see how the front runners from the front, the leaders from race number 1 are doing. Moritz Lohner has already been able to get himself up into P23. Price very much in tow as well. He's in P24. So the task of the very quick drivers in effect at the moment. You can see how much side-by-side action is going on ahead of them into the first and second Stavlo here. Maybe even a little bit of contact ahead there because I saw a couple of sparks flying, which is never ideal in racing, I suppose. But looking back towards the very front then as Max Pfeiffer looking to try and get himself even further up the podium here as Banki looking to try and get P1 away from Santos here. Oh, almost a little bit of contact between the two. Pfeiffer sticking his nose in where it doesn't belong as well. Fighting behind between Delatraz and Manuel Rodriguez as well, just at the very back of the shot between the two Team Shmee cars, fighting between Christopher Jones and Axel Vermeulen here as well, as the Team Malmedie cars try to get themselves through on all of these Team Shmee cars. They're trying to find some success here. We're almost going to be too wide in towards Eau Rouge and Ragnon there, but the common sense will prevail, I think, here for most of these battles with regards to making sure they can get single file through this very fast and dangerous sequence of corners. So a pretty hectic first lap there as Andre Santos able to get himself up into the race lead here early on. Bent Banki second place Max Pfeiffer, the best positioned Team Malmedie car here for the moment. Side by side between Jones and Prater, between the two Malmedie cars deeper in the field for P8 and P9. Further back, you have yet more passing, yet more battling between a good handful of drivers. And, well, we'll see, I think it's Broutigam and Emery Chian going side by side there through Roussels. And also Julian Kunze also trying to defend from both of those fighting cars behind as well, side by side between the two of them as they head their way through Jackie X corner. Is this side by side going to be maintained for Pouon though? No, it isn't. They all get single file with Broutigam ahead of Chian for 15th on track at the moment. Looking further forward, this is Axel Vermeulen getting past Louis Delatraz. There in that situation. So Vermeulen up into 6th place, Delatraz now down to 7th place. Of course, Delatraz did not have the best of qualifying, so he, as a result, didn't really have a great race in race number 1 either, which is why he got promoted up the field due to the reverse grid. But Team Shmee still in a relatively good position as far as those top couple of positions are concerned. Here, a little bit of a free car pack for P8, Krista Jones, Simone Preteri and Christopher Högfeldt. Högfeldt looking to try and get himself through in this one as the two teammates battle ahead of him. Preteri to the outside of Jones. Here they got to be careful not to both overcommit as there's been a spin, bit of contact, large amount of contact in the very back there. Couple of drivers involved in that one. Adam Pinces, Julian Kunze, all involved in that one. Garsner was coming up on that one like a bat out of hell as well. So a big incident there through the bus stop in the early portions of this race. Unfortunately, due to how we're doing the stream here, we will not be able to get ourselves any replays of anything that goes on here over the course of this one. So it's kind of a little bit of a luck as about to where I'm pointing the cameras are at any given time. Still fighting for P8 though. Christopher Högfeldt just sitting up in behind here, looking to the inside just at the same time as Prater looks to the inside on his teammate there of Christopher Jones, as Högfeldt will make it 3 wide, almost in towards the comb as the two Team Malmedie cars go wheel to wheel, door to door, coming through the first sector. Högfeldt looking for another opportunity down the inside of the corner called Malmedie, as we have a team called Malmedie and a corner called Malmedie here at this racetrack, as now you can see Michael Broutigam, or rather Alexander Dornaden, looking to try and squeeze his way through in that Bentley as well. The Team Shmee cars just trying to hassle these Team Malmedie cars, but we saw Christopher Högfeldt there just get into the wall a huge amount coming through the exit of Jackie X corner. But a whole bunch of trying to jostle positions here in this mid-pack as those Team Malmedie cars trying to file their way through on those Team Shmee cars. Of course, the Team Malmedie cars were quote-unquote the most punished due to the reverse grid, due to how well they did in race number 1. So that's why you see a whole group of these cars try and get their way through on well, the green cars trying to get through on the blue cars. Here is probably the most simple way I could describe it. Högfeldt getting very close here to Krista Jones on this run out of Pivot Pro Frere in towards Bonchimont, looking to the inside, not going to go through there, it's so risky. Of course, yes, everyone reflects on, well, yeah, Max Verstappen did that around the outside, but you know, sometimes with different categories of cars, it can be a different story. There's the absolute send from Christopher Högfeldt into the bus stop chicane, but he'll immediately lose all that he's gained as a result of doing that, as Krista Jones is able to just nip back underneath due to the overcommitment of Christopher Högfeldt. And now we'll have a bit of action behind as well, because Michael Broutigam looking to try and get through on Florian Hasse here, as Broutigam trying to fight his way through for 12th place on the track at the moment. And well, does Florian Hasse decide to challenge into the Eau Rouge and Radion? I would advise not, and that's exactly the decision that he's gone for. It's better to try and get the best run possible through here. Someone's gone very wide. Krista Jones very wide out of Radion there. That's going to ruin his momentum all the way in towards the Lacombe chicane here. And it's going to be easy positions gained, perhaps. Try those cars behind, because there's the position gained from Broutigam. Florian Hasse got through in his teammate as well. Now Krista Jones is trying to fight with his own teammate of Emery Chian now. So this mid-pack is just getting shuffled time and time again with the passes going on. Florian Hasse diving deep to the inside on Michael Brautregam there, or rather Brautregam trying to go for the move over him, so that's a change for position there between the two as Hasse looks to try and come back at him towards the inside of Uon. Can be very sketchy at the best of times, but they'll take the fight through here as regardless. Battle for P11 between Hasse and Brautregam. They'll continue the closeness on the way down in towards Lefania as it triggers a few battles behind these guys as Otto Vignani looking to try and get through on Krista Jones here. So Krista Jones has not had the best past couple of laps here, has he? He's got himself a last lap here as he went wide through Radion, and now he continues to hemorrhage positions. He gets 2 tyres out into the dirt as well. So things just go from bad to worse for Krista Jones here, and this one unfortunately hemorrhaging a whole bunch of points due to all of those positions being lost here in the mid-pack. We'll give ourselves a little bit of attention towards the front though, because we have now an active battle for P2. So this is, well, beneficial for Andre Santos, isn't it? Because he can have a look at this one in his rear view mirrors and say, okay guys, go on, just keep fighting, and I'll just try and stretch my legs at the front of the field here, try and pull away. And that's always the risk with regards to having an extended door-to-door battle in any race, let alone at Spa Francorchamps. Seems like Volker Yarshel saying that, again, a disconnect from Tim Yarshel. So, yeah, not great for Tim there, as sometimes internet issues do happen in sim racing, happens in all esports, but happens with greater consequences, I suppose, here in sim racing, given that we can't exactly just pause the whole race and wait for the driver to reconnect to the session. Unfortunately, that's not how it works in sim racing. It works in other games, like League of Legends, Counter-Strike, whatsoever, but not here in sim racing, unfortunately, as we're having a look at battle deeper in the pack. Emre Chian versus, what is the driver of Michael Brautregam now. Brautregam being involved in pretty much everything here in the mid-pack. He seems to be every single battle that we focus on, Brautregam is involved in it in some form or fashion. And as a result now of this latest battle, Isaac Price has been able to find a way through on him, so that's great there from Isaac Price. He has got himself a car between himself and Lona though, so there is Maurice Lona in the Porsche. Starting from the very back of the grid, he's got himself all the way up into 13th place, so things pretty good going for Maurice Lona here at the moment. Well in towards the halfway point of this race now, and well at the very front there's the driver of Andre Santos, who took the race lead early on. Of course it was Ben Spanky that was the pole position sitter for this reverse grid race, but Andre Santos getting himself a good start, a good launch, and getting himself in front up in towards the run out of Eau Rouge and Radion into the cone. But look at this, oh, Max Pfeiffer going for the inside, forces Ben Sparky wide and forces him to cut across the chicane as well, so that'll be a slowdown penalty for sure for cutting the track for Ben Spanky. You have to wonder if Pfeiffer is just going to do the sportsman-like thing and just sitting behind while Ben's can serve this penalty, and well, he's not. He's just going to go down to the inside, take the position, take P2 away from Ben Spanky, and Spanky is rightfully frustrated at that one, considering it was contact that forced him wide and forced him to take the penalty in the first place. He did have a bit of a flash of the lights there as Pfeiffer squeezed his way through. So Banki, understandably frustrated at that entire situation there. At least the sportsman-like thing to do, at least for me, was for Pfeiffer just to sit behind and let Banki serve whatever drive-through penalty, whatever sort of cutting the course. But sportsmanship is not compulsory, I suppose, here in this one, and Pfeiffer preferring to rely on the stewards at the end of the race, I suppose, to try and decide that one. But Banki will still try and decide this one of his own accord. Of course, it's better for things to be decided on track rather than in the steward's office. That goes for any kind of racing, let alone esport. With the thought they would try to back out at this point, but it looks like everything is pretty stable and pretty smooth going here for the moment here in this particular battle at the very front of the field, as we'll get ourselves the side-by-side action down in towards the chicane once again. Högfeldt versus Hasse. Lona getting himself involved in this one as well. Lona looking to try and gain positions after getting punished the worst due to the reverse grid. Högfeldt looking down the inside of Predator, not going to be able to make that move. Hasse around the outside now, at least looking around the outside. Can't quite get things done though, so he'll just dip back in line. I do apologise by the way of the stream just going down for just about 5 or 10 seconds there. A little bit of a blip on our side, but it looks like we are still back with you with regards to the racing, and that little issue was short-lived. We've got ourselves about 4 minutes and 30 seconds left to go, and still very much all to play for with regards to these positions inside of the top 10. Högfeldt just driving it in there over Predator. That's a fantastic move into Lafania over the Italian. Högfeldt just take a bow. That was an incredible pass there down in towards Lafania, just committing to the inside, just swing it in there and just dominance on display. And now it's caused a little bit of a chain reaction behind, as now all the Malmedie drivers are trying to scrap it in amongst themselves. Predator and Hasse now looking to go try and go wheel to wheel late on in this event. And well, Lona is trying to push one of those drivers through as well. He's trying to push Hasse through, tucked up underneath the back bumper. You can get a little bit of bump drafting done here in this one, but we will have to cut away from this one just briefly though, because we do have that battle for P2 raging on between Pfeiffer and Benz Banki. They make contact down in towards the source. Banki taking the wider line, looking to try and get the drive off the corner, but it looks like Pfeiffer has been able to get the position. Banki, third place, looking to try and come back at him now in towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Gonna stick in line for now, but time is starting to become a little bit of an issue for these drivers. Not a lot of time, not a lot of laps left to go to be able to make their moves. Benz Banki tucked in the slipstream of Max Pfeiffer on the way in towards the Lacombe chicane. The battle of the late breakers into here, you would have thought, but Banki not quite able to get alongside, maybe relying on Pfeiffer overcommitting to the apexes a little bit, causing him to go a little bit slower in towards Malmedie, and that's exactly what has happened. But Benz Banki not able to capitalize in that instance. He'll have to stay behind for now. By the way, this mid-pack, while we've been talking about that battle for P2, has been absolutely crazy, as they're all trying to follow, as the Team Malmedie cars are trying to gain some form of points out of this race number 2, but it feels like they're in the exact same situation as Team Shmee was in race number 1, in that they're kind of just stuck behind cars at the moment. Louis Delatraz trying to defend from Florian Hasse, heading through Jackie X corner, and now down in towards Huon. Not really the best overtaking opportunity, so you're just going to see the cars stay all line astern coming through here. Although we have seen on previous occasions over the course of this one, the overtake be available in towards the Lafania chicanes if you're brave enough. But no one brave enough on this instance, as they all just negotiate those apexes all single file. But this is where a lot of the excitement can happen also on the final lap, as drivers just get that little bit more desperate, try and squeeze their way through. Remember, Lona is on the back of this 3-car train here at the moment as well, so the race winner from race 1 just about almost able to break himself inside of the top 10, which is very, very, very good going for Lona with regards to his performance in the Drivers' Championship here for this season. Nose to tail through Blanchimont then. Coming up towards the end of the race now, and well, here comes Florian Hasse looking to the outside on Delatraz, so Delatraz is going to be able to hold on to that one. Oh no! Moritz Lohner has made contact with his teammate. Hasse trying to swipe across, wrapped himself accidentally around the nose of Moritz Lohner. Thankfully, none of those cars spun all the way around. None of them hit any barriers, but that's never a situation you want to see. Contact with your teammate, and now 3 wide between teammates in towards the La Source hairpin here on the, well, coming up, I think this might even be the final lap here. We'll have to wait and try and get confirmation of that one, but side by side between Lohner and Hasse. Well, Lohner's going to back out of that one, of course, on the way in towards Eau Rouge and Radion. Further back up through the field though, here's Axel Vermeulen and Alexander Dornaden going side by side for P3 out there on circuit, and well, for P4, excuse me, as Dornaden scores that P4 from Axel Vermeulen. And now we have a look back towards that confusing little mess that we have in the mid-pack. It's Shmee150 P14, and we've got Isaac Price P15, Pitfoot P16, Pinska P17, all involved in this one as Isaac Price looks to the inside on the Italian but can't quite find this real estate required. Down in towards the Bruxelles corner. Coming in towards the final 10 seconds of this race, there is Andre Santos, who has really had not a lot to do here in this race. He did all of his work on the start, you could argue, and well, has done a good job in maintaining the gap back to positions behind. So there is confirmation of being on the final lap there. You see the timer has indeed expired, so that means we will see the checkered flag next time through. And what performance it has been from Andre Santos, and what a recovery from race number 1 it has been for Team Shmee. They'll be very happy that they're able to score a whole bunch of points out of this one. They have P1, P3, P4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is a massive point scoring race for Team Shmee as Andre Santos heads his way out of the final corner to come across the line to win the second race here in the REMUS GT3 Championship for 2021. The second race at Spa. The reverse grid race goes Andre Santos' way. Here's the confusion a little bit behind as well as Ottaviani's overcommitted to the bus stop and Moritz Lohner is able to squeeze his way through. There's a spinner in the background as well. Can't quite tell who that one was, but it was a Team Malmedie car that dropped further down the order. Lohner's able to gain the position on the right at the line there, up into P10. So from last place to P10 for Moritz Lohner. Fantastic stuff. I believe it was Krista Jones that had a massive problem there. Or might have been Shmee150, in fact. Shmee150 limping back home. And that's a whole bunch of points lost there from Team Malmedie. It's not exactly ideal, but fantastic job for Andre Santos to come across the line to win this race. So Moritz Lohner and Andre Santos are your two race winners here today. And, well, it's a race win each for both Team Malmedie and of course Team Shmee. So there is the other results for the second race here. Of course, everything very unofficial at this stage here. Of course, we do have to factor in our race administrators and race stewards penalties and some such after this event. So this isn't the final result, but this is the result that we have unofficially. So Andre Santos wins from Max Pfeiffer, from and Spanky with Alexander Dorneden in 4th place. We got Axel Vermeulen in 5th with Rodriguez in P6, Kirkfeld P7, Delatraz P8, Moritz Lohner up into P9. So there must have been another penalty from someone out there that resulted in Lohner getting P9 now. And now Alessandro Ottaviani in P10 here today. So that is the confirmation, well, the unofficial race results here from race number 2 here at Spa Francorchamps. And, well, it was certainly a very active affair up and down the field, especially in that mid-pack where everyone was trying to file through and get themselves the best race 2 possible out of the reverse grid race. So it's a tale of two races here, I suppose. Team Malmedie absolutely dominant. Crazy stuff in that first race to be able to get as many cars towards the very front of the field as they had. But of course, a good recovery from Team Shmee to not blunder the opportunity of being put in a good starting grid position for race number 2 due to the reverse grid. Well, thank you very much for joining me, guys. We're going to have to wind things down rather quickly here on the English stream for the REMUS GT3 Championship here on RaceRoom. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us over the course of today. It's been two absolutely crazy races here, and I'm very thankful that everyone is able to join us here for this one. And well, I'm certainly going to be here for the rest of the events. I might even have a co-commentator at some point as well over the course of this season. So look out for that one as we continue to improve the production here on the English stream. But from everyone at RaceRoom, from everyone at REMUS, we very much thank you for watching the English stream here today as we head into our next event. Next time out will be the Nürburgring on the 26th of October. That will be our next event to try and figure out the well, what things are looking like for the early part of the season in the REMUS GT3 Championship for 2021. My name has been Connor Ematic. You can follow me at RaptrosCasts on Twitter, and I'll see you in about a couple of weeks' time for that race at the Nürburgring. But for now, we'll have to say goodbye.